Y'all know what time it is. It's time for that boom bap breakfast right here on Black Power Media. This is the Remix Morning Show, and we got the mad crew up in the house. Let me introduce you to your host. First of all, go by the name of the ear doctor. Let's introduce Kalonji Jamachanga. And burn it down, Kim Brad. Kamal K. Franklin.
Peace. What's good?
I'll mute some people here.
Oh, I did all that. What up for nothing?
Yeah.
Did I scream Kim's name?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't mean to scream it out. I mean, you know.
I'm about to say, Kamal, shush. Don't be telling everybody what you and that. what we be doing, Kamal.
How are you doing? You're back.
A few times. Have my name screamed a few times. You know
I'm sure you have. I'm sure it's been more than a few.
Maybe a couple times, once or twice.
It was like,
doing, fellas?
Good. They was like, Kim got that big check. She done went somewhere else. We was like, where Kim at?
Kim got a big check? My big disability check? What check we talking about? what check is that? What check is that?
How are you feeling? You've been a little under the weather, we've heard.
I was under the weather on the first week I was off, but the second week I will confess I was feeling burnt out. I was just burnt. I was burnt. I'm burnt on the news. I'm burnt on all the bullshit. I'm fucking over it. So, but I'm back. I'm a little less over it. I'm a little less over it today.
That's always a good start.
I'm very
excited. How y'all feeling? It's good.
What's going on, Kalonji? How are you?
I'm out here swinging with this blade, not feeling too great today. I know that the good brother Kevin Johnson is scheduled to be executed in less than 11 hours. Yeah. Some kind of feeling a way about that. So I'm here to rumble though, but don't fit well. Just sitting here counting the time down, knowing that that the state is gonna cause someone to expire, in real time, and we can't do a goddamn thing about it, So just feeling a little way about that.
Yeah. Welcome to America. Good Lord.
How was your weekend, your doctor?
My weekend was all right. I didn't do much of anything this weekend. I don't think. No DJing, no nothing. I just actually
no work.
No work.
Jobs this weekend.
No work. I got to go check out my brother Esco. The son with no Mark. He just opened up a new spot to connect. Y'all know Esco.
Yes.
Mark. So yeah, he just got to open that up. Go check him out. Mayor stepped up on the scene. There's a bunch of people out there I ain't seen in a minute, so it was a good thing. Good to see another friend open up a business and get it going in the community. So it was cool. Nothing wild though.
Nothing wild.
Nothing wild.
You be kicking it with the mayor of Atlanta? Is that what I'm hearing here, doctor?
I mean, he's a cool dude. Known him since 2000s. Doing podcasts together when podcasts wasn't even
with the mayor of Atlanta.
Yeah, we had a internet radio station called That's Good Radio back in the day. And
wait a minute. Did he vote for Cop City? This is the question.
He is the biggest supporter of Cop City. Oh yeah.
Shit. That's your man, ear doctor. That's your boy.
That's my man, but let me tell you who my girl is though.
Oh, nigga.
Jackie
Levi. Whoa.
It's a full house.
Hey people.
Yo,
Jackie.
Good morning, party people. Peace, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good morning, Jacqueline. Como se va ce matin? Vous êtes très belle, per usual.
Yeah, we can do some French too. Cadet belle.
Wow.
Cadet crawfish.
Hasta mañana.
Nobody better not say Hakuna Matata. No, don't.
What's good, Jackie? How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good today. Taking it one day at a time.
I mean, you look gorgeous for allegedly sick people. I believe that you have what you say you have, but I'm sorry, you are shining. So I mean, you look fantastic.
That's called sweat. That's called me walking.
The glistening is.
from the coffee place to the getting my little exercise in, from the parking garage to the coffee place, around the block to the studio with my winter coat on and my bag with that sweat. That's
Well, wait a minute. If everything works out, I might be seeing you, Jackie, at this Pan African conference.
Oh, did they invite you too?
Well, I think I was the first one invited. What are you talking about? I was the first one. I was told they couldn't even have it without first asking me.
Is that so?
Yeah, I think they had to change dates. I confirmed my
Jackie's
schedule.
reconsidering even going now that she heard Kamal's being there. Like Kamal's gonna be there. Well, shit,
you
I
know
don't know.
what? I don't want to go. No, yeah, that's cool. That's great. I'm really glad.
I'm trying to get to the studio. I brought that up because can I get a visit to the studio?
Absolutely.
I mean, if I'm part of the podcast crew, I feel like all of us need to be there together, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
I
might be Sean at my door. What's going on? Somebody just opened my door.
Sean is not at your door.
Oh, my bad. I might be Sean at my door. Hold on, let me get my door. I know that's like, I'm doing an ear doctor thing.
Right. Yeah.
Saturday, good people. Welcome to the Remix Morning Show. Black Power Media in the building. Today, we're going to bring some black power to this media and make sure we're on the right side of the barricades. You know what I mean? As I mentioned a little while ago, we're going to be rumbling today. Shout out to the folks in St. Louis right now with the caravan on behalf of Kevin Johnson. Shout out to all the organizers and the workers out there that are currently in the streets and are putting together a number of different forums and protests across the country today. And shout out to, I say Michelle Smith and the Missourians against the death penalty who've been out there tirelessly as the state has been handing us their ass to kiss. So I suggest that today, for all our good organizing folks out there and all the good folks out there who like to tweet and share on social media, make sure that we black it out for Kevin Johnson today. Again, it is a criminal act for for the state to lead folks down a pathway to destruction, for lack of better words. Yesterday, as many of you know, they denied him they denied his oral arguments. Of course, a special prosecutor came in to talk about how the case was prejudiced and it was a lot of racism behind this situation, and they ignored it. And I'm mad as hell. I'm not even going to front. I'm not going to act like that we should be comfortable today, because today's not a comfortable day. Today's absolutely not a comfortable day. And I think that it is horrible that one of the things that we do as a people is that we respond as reactionaries. We wait till after someone's dead and gone for us to say, that's jacked up and justice for this one and justice for that one. But, we're not going out like that. We have to come up with new plans, new strategies, and figure out what we're going to do out here. It's the whole talking about celebrity culture and all that. Fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Part of my English, I know it's early in the morning, but again, I'm feeling away. So we will be rumbling here at Black Power Media today, all day, and make sure y'all stay on the right side of the barricades. And good morning.
And you know what, Kalanji, we had the opportunity, and it was really an honor for us to interview Michelle Smith. I know you've talked to her, you know her personally, you know these folks, and I just talking to her and having her break down not just the case, but Kevin's life and what he went through that led to this moment. And I was talking yesterday on the People's Power Hour about this, frivolous lawsuit against Kraft Heinz Company for macaroni and cheese. This lady is suing because she couldn't. It took her longer than the 3.5 minutes advertised on the box to make the macaroni and cheese. So she's suing, a class action lawsuit. And it struck me that it is easier in this country to file a class action lawsuit against a food or beverage company for some frivolous claim and probably get some type of settlement than it is to prove racial bias and prosecutorial misconduct in death row cases, particularly involving our people. And it just and it was just wild thinking about how much easier it is to go into court with a bunch of bullshit and get a cash settlement, because some company didn't write clear enough instructions on, the food package. But when it comes to taking to the court to save somebody's life from the state, that's nearly impossible. And I think that is a reflection of the fact that this system is not designed it's not designed to protect human beings. And it's certainly not designed to protect us. So I feel you when you say we need new tactics, new strategies, as we are engaged in this horrible, horrific countdown. And I have to tell you that sometimes I'm at a loss for what those tactics and strategies are, Kalanji, because brother, what haven't we tried? And I feel like you are a better person to answer that question than I am, because you've been in this for longer than me. And so I think I'm kind of voicing maybe what a lot of people feel but are afraid to, because they don't want to seem not revolutionary. I think we all in this struggle get to moments where we're like, what else can we do, because we've tried everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that the one thing that we must do is be consistent. And I think that for us, we're in a unique situation just being on this platform right here, right now. We have the opportunity to speak truth to power. We have the opportunity to set the record straight. We have the opportunity to give folks a narrative that's not mainstream. We don't have to follow the script of the mainstream. We don't have to talk about what mass media is talking about, because we know that they're talking BS, right? But we do have a responsibility to point out the bounce. We do have a responsibility to let folks know what's really going on, and not when it's beneficial, not when it's popular. You know what I'm saying? What we do it is and should be unpopular. You know what I mean? If we're going to talk about Mumia, as we should talk about Veronza Bowers. You understand what I'm saying? Who's been held 17 years past his time in prison right now. We have enough cases, we have enough things to talk about, but I feel like sometimes we spend more time following behind what these ambulance chasers, influencers, and these state-sponsored and state-backed individuals and propaganda has to offer. I think we kind of sometimes we fall victim because we're trying to correct the narrative, but at the same time we miss the mark oftentimes. I feel like I'm looking at this case right now, and the state of Missouri talking about his daughter who's 19 years old, who just had a son 2 months ago. His daughter's like, look, I want to be there to witness this execution. And folks like, why would you want to do that? She said, because of the fact that if my mother or father was dying, then I would want in the hospital, I want to be by their side. So I want to be there to support them. The state of Missouri said she was too young. They said that the required age is 21 years old for you to witness the execution. Now, the same state made that about this 19-year-old woman, but they sentenced Kevin Johnson, who was 19 years old when this case started. They sentenced him to death. So he's not too young to die. He's not too young to get the death penalty, but you're too young to witness. And all this is just a reminder. It's a reminder of how they want to torture you, and they want to even control how you die and who you die with and who can support you, so on and so forth. So I'm simply saying, I don't have all the answers, and I'm not going to sit up here and act like I do. But what I am going to say is that we, as organizers, as freedom fighters, as educators, folks with politics, so on and so forth, and folks with a platform, we have to always make sure that we stay on the right side of the barricades. We can't roll like they roll, and we got to make sure that that we're making it known. I think that at the very least, I don't feel like oftentimes that we fight hard enough. I think a lot of times we take, and I'm not just talking about the platform, I'm just talking about Black people, period. I'm talking about oppressed people, period. It's easier to attack soft targets. You understand what I'm saying? But that's what cowards do. That's what cowards do. With all practical purposes, with all due respect, fuck what Dave Chappelle and Kanye talking about.
Say that.
And anybody that like them and don't like them. Because at the end of the day, you still have political prisoners who've been locked up for over 50 years. You still have folks on death row. You still have folks who are being executed daily. The police has not stopped murdering us in the streets. Over 1,000 people have been murdered this year alone here in the United States. You know what I'm saying? We got enough shit to talk about. We got enough stuff to talk about, and we got to figure out how do we organize and how do we move beyond it, and how do we inspire folks who are out there checking us out. But anyway, I don't mean to be on no soapbox, but I'm here for it today.
I appreciate that soapbox.
Well, speaking to somebody who don't use soap.
Oh no.
Nice.
Yeah, I had to throw something in for you. I had to throw something in to get you.
Something. Word. Well, let's welcome to everybody. Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. We're gonna take a quick break and get right back to the news with y'all right here. So let's do it on the Remix Morning Show.
Remix.
Yeah. All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Make sure y'all hit that like button, that subscribe button if you haven't already. Go to patreon.com, drop some change in the bucket so we can make sure this train keeps moving on the right tracks. All right, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get to a quick weather report and get y'all people outside. If y'all ain't going outside, well, good for you. All right, let's start in Birmingham, Alabama. They got a high today of 71 degrees. Big up to B-Ham. All right, next let's take it up to Raleigh, North Carolina, who has a high today of 64 degrees. Now let's take it over to the Midwest. Let's go to Mount Vernon, Ohio. How many Mount Vernons are there? I wonder. And why was Mount Vernon so important that it has so many different places from New York to Ohio to wherever else? Just let me know. All right, they got a high today of 53 degrees. Next, let's take it out to Salt Lake City, Utah, which has a high today of 29 degrees. It is brick out there. All right, next let's take it to Bridgetown, Barbados, where you can go get your tan on. It's 84 degrees. Big up to all my people eating flying fish out there. That's right, they eat fish that fly. All right, next let's take it over to Monrovia, Liberia. They have a high today of 82 degrees. That's right, that's pretty hot. I tell you what else is hot. This right here. This. That's right. We got to give it up to our sister who just made her transition, no other than Irene Cara, also known as Irene Cara Escalara. That's right. She just made a transition. What was it? November the 25th of this year. She's a singer, actress. She's known as Coco Hernandez in the film Fame. She made it big on that, and she also had two big songs, which was Flash Dance with a Feeling, as you just heard, and also Fame. And she was also big in the movie Sparkle. And not only that, she has over 5 albums. So big up to Irene Cara. Just had to throw her up in there. And thank you for your work and your contribution to our culture. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and get back to the Remix Morning Show. Yeah. Let's bring them all back.
Rest in power to Irene Cara. She was one of those racially ambiguous. I didn't know what Irene Cara's ethnicity was for a very long time.
She's her dad is Puerto Rican and her mom is Cuban.
Oh, so okay, she's Latina.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, rise and power to her.
No doubt. Well, let's take
Back
Jackie.
to you on mute.
It's been a while for Jackie.
Yeah, I know. It's been a minute. Sorry. So for all of her amazing talent, I wondered why she like disappeared after Sparkle and Fame and I mean that huge hit from that movie. The movie was terrible, but the song was great. What a Feeling from Flashdance. And it turns out that she was in this very long, contentious lawsuit with her record label. And she eventually won the lawsuit, but the record label owners blackballed her
Wow.
and stopped all of her music from being released. So, I mean, I think that we can never like forget that the music industry is, I mean, there ain't nothing nice about it. In order to make it in the music industry, I feel like you have to give up so much of your soul and your principles to play ball with these, with these clearly money hungry, greedy entities that will destroy your career and your life, even because they don't like that you caught them stealing from you and that you ain't gonna take it, because that's what the lawsuit was about. They were stealing her money.
Yeah.
And she was like, nope, not doing it to me. And I just, that's whenever these kinds of stories come out, I always look at the music industry as like it's just another extension of this whole awful capitalist system we live in.
No doubt. That's the biz and showbiz, and that is your weather report today for Black Power Media and the Remix Morning Show. Catch y'all later.
Yeah, and I
Rising
sometimes
power.
I think things like that highlight the like the record business is a good way sometimes of highlighting the plantation life, like folks who you think have access to things or on some path or road to success, and you can break down how those contracts are written, how folks, whatever the talent they have, but how they have to basically they become indebted to the very company that's supposed to be putting out their music and supporting them through all the upfront resources, and then they got to pay that back. And like you said, the ways in which the copyright money or all the resources are stolen, sometimes it's just a small example of what we face in the bigger world, and sometimes it's easy to explain it to people that way. So I think that's one reason to keep bringing that kind of thing up in terms of like the unequal way in which she was treated, which again, like dozens, if not even dozens, hundreds of thousands of artists have been treated over the year, particularly in the Black community.
Rising powers.
I was thinking about Chadwick Boseman had crossed my mind the other day, and I remember we had did a story about his wife splitting his estate equally with his parents, and I think it was just shy of $3 million. And I'm like, Chadwick was part of the highest grossing movie of one of the highest grossing movies of all times, and he had, I say only, but $3 million when Black Panther brought in billions, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Rising power to Don Newkirk as well. Don Newkirk, folks remember him from working with Third Base, De La Soul, Def Jam, and a number of different artists on these different labels and whatnot. He transitioned about 3 days ago as well. So definitely, shout out to him and his family, for his contribution to hip hop. Yeah. Yes.
Get ready to smack that mat?
Let's do it.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's the Remix Morning Show, y'all. Black Power Media. It's Tuesday. Everybody gets a full house on today. It is, what is today, y'all? Tuesday, November 29th. The year has flown by. Y'all, we're only a few weeks away from the new year. So on this Giving Tuesday, consider giving a few dollars to the platform, the Black Power Media. We appreciate your super chats. We appreciate any sort of material assistance you could give the platform on this Giving Tuesday. So you can hit us a Cash App, $ Black Power Media. You can go to blackpowermedia.org, get you some gear. We got any Black Friday sales going on, good people? Or Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday sales on the merch?
I know. I like how they've just designated these days for giving.
Yeah.
And they've populated them so widely that people just, like over the last couple of years, like 5 years ago, I never heard of Giving Tuesday. Now it's just like part of the lexicon in which people talk about it. Like, and again, give that money up. But it's just the way in which it's popularized to the point of like, it's just like you feel like it's been around for like 50 years and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's all a part of this, the capitalist, like you said, Kalonji, the capitalist plot. It's not even a plot because they're just doing it right out in the open to just separate you from your dollars. Because first it's Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, where you have to spend, you're convinced that you have to celebrate this holiday, spend all this money buying all this food and all this kind of stuff, and don't worry about those massacre of the indigenous people. That's behind all that foolishness. And then it's Black Friday, and then
Small Business Saturday,
Cyber Monday,
Small Business Saturday.
Oh, that's right, Small Business Saturday popped up. Then Cyber Monday popped up, and now Giving Tuesday. And does anybody in this country stop and go, wait a minute? They just keep literally making up out of thin air ways for us to keep spending our money. And people just go right along with it. And then they wonder why, that there is so much corporate control over our everyday lives. I mean, we kind of give it up to them though.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, we love it. It's like, we were talking about the other day, that's capitalism is the biggest cult following. You know what I'm saying? It's the cult that we all participate in willingly or unwillingly, and it's why it must be destroyed, because it is the machine itself. The machine can't operate without capitalism. There can be no oppression. There can be no domination without capitalism. So, it has to go. Gotta go. That's what they say, right? But
big up to Zenzibel. Thank you, Zenzibel, for your super chat support. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Ooh, we got some more. Mm-hmm. Who else ran us some bucks? Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it.
They just say making it rain in the chat. I guess one of us have to take our shirt off.
Good time to do that. Yeah.
I'm still going
to take your shirt off.
One of us is going to have to take their shirt off.
Good luck, y'all.
Come on, Kamal said he'll take one for the team. Look at him.
I'm not gonna mess with Kalonji today because Kalonji he's feeling, and he's right. He's on that. I ain't gonna mess with Kalonji.
You don't want to call for me to take my shirt off?
I'm just saying. For as long as we've been, I don't understand. Has this happened since I've been gone?
The shirt? I've been saving it for you. When I come to DC, there will be an unveiling.
Man.
What? so when Kamal
and now the news for the day.
When Kamal comes down, he'll be taking his clothes off, is what I heard. I mean, that's what I heard.
Live on the air by any means necessary.
When Kamal comes to town, you're gonna be taking them things off. Okay.
Okay.
Want to get started with the
news.
The actual factual news.
What do we have in real news? Is anybody following?
Well, we have stuff. I don't know if Kalonji wanted to start with Kevin an update. You gave a little bit in the pre. Do you want to say anything else about it before we do other stuff?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. For now, I would just say that at 11 a.m. we have a piece with Dylan Rodriguez and Joy James. We'll be discussing a little bit further in regards to the case, breaking down strategies and, again, what this case means to us in a larger context. But, I'll go ahead and let you all get it started on the news. I know it's something going on in Connecticut right now. These 5 officers. I don't know if one of y'all want to get started with that or.
That's the exact story I sent to Kamal. So that's in your email, Kamal. Big up to Tina Lulu. Tina Lulu Mac, thank you so much for your super chat support, sweetheart. Tina Lulu is laying in bed right now in California watching the Remix Morning Show. So we appreciate it, Tina Lulu. It's early as hell, baby girl. So thank you. Thank you so much, Tina Lulu. Always bigging up and showing love.
That story is on the run sheet as well, Kamal. That Kim's
I'm pulling it up right now. Sorry, I got you.
Yeah, so this is a follow-up of a story that we have covered here on this channel where a man from Connecticut was paralyzed after being taken into police custody, and now there's an update with these 5 officers now facing charges. Just hit play, my guy.
Oh, I didn't know.
I'm sorry, my bad. Come out. Yeah. Oh, hey, Sue.
The arrest and paralysis of a man while in New Haven police custody from nearly 6 months ago is still impacting the city and the police department. 5 New Haven officers are now facing charges for how they handled the arrest of Randy Cox. Channel 3 Eyewitnesses reporter Audrey Russo is live at the police station. And Audrey, again, those officers have turned themselves in.
Wendell, that's right. And we've learned that noted civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump will be.
Did y'all pause that?
No, that's the video itself paused.
So, I mean, basically, we could talk about it while the video's getting in order. See, brother out in New Haven, Connecticut, who's being transported by some New Haven pigs, 5 officers. His name is Randy Cox, 36-year-old. They didn't strap him in at all, not properly, but not at all. And the cop ends up slamming on brakes. He slams on brakes. A man slides, hit his head against the back door, and he's paralyzed from the shoulders down. He's yelling or crying for help. They take him to the detention center, which is not what they're supposed to do. And when they get there, they're telling him to get up and to get out the vehicle. And one of the women cops is telling them, stand up. You're not even trying, whatever, so on and so forth. And of course, he couldn't stand up because he was paralyzed. And so now they are talking about, they brought up an investigation and they're bringing up charges on these 5 cops. And they're also doing an internal investigation. They're on paid leave right now, by the way. They're doing an internal investigation to see if they should keep their jobs. And of course, as always, the police unions are backing them. And this young man, he's 36, he's paralyzed. And we hear about these cases all the time. So many cases where, folks aren't strapped into these particular vehicles. They're actually supposed to be legal to transport in these vehicles if they don't have, the safety apparatuses or the seat belts. So, yeah, so this is what's going on right now with that particular case.
Will be speaking today on behalf of the Cox legal team. He'll be talking this afternoon at 1:00, and he's going to be addressing the 5 officers who did turn themselves in. They're facing charges of reckless endangerment and cruelty to persons, and that all stems from that fateful ride that Randy Cox took in the back of a New Haven police transport van when he was arrested back in June. Now, in that video, you can see that when the driver stops short, Randy Cox was thrown headfirst into the side of that van. The officers dragged Cox out of the van feet first, despite Cox telling them he couldn't move. Now, after a review of the incident, Connecticut State Police issued warrants for the 5 officers involved. They are Betsy Segui, officers Oscar Diaz, Ronald Presley, Jocelyn Lavendier, and Louis Rivera. Now, city officials, along with retired state police lieutenant and Channel 3 law enforcement analyst J.D. Vance, responded to the news of the charges.
As I've said from day one, the city of New Haven is committed to accountability for all individuals involved in this tragic incident. And today's announcement by the state's attorney is a significant step in that process.
This is nothing that's taken lightly by any police department in Connecticut or across the country.
Now, there is an expectation that there will be an internal affairs investigation on the part of New Haven Police now that there is a criminal case moving forward. All 5 officers are on paid administrative leave at this time, but what happens to them next all depends on what plays out in the courtroom.
So after paralyzing somebody, you get a paid vacation.
Right. And is it just me, or when y'all heard Ben Crump's name, did you immediately think, oh, they ain't gonna be they're not gonna be convicted of everything. Crump is gonna make sure that there is a settlement that is reached? Because it seems to me that that's pretty much been his role in these cases. He make sure the client gets paid, which means he gets paid. But these pigs never do serve any time. And I don't know if there's a disconnect in his role in I don't know. I just hear Ben Crump's name and I really just think ambulance chaser. I do. I'm sorry.
So I saw Ben Crump. He was in Buffalo yesterday or the day before when the top supermarket shooter pled guilty to all charges in New York State court. And I saw Ben Crump giving comment afterwards saying that, that the person, Peyton Gendron, should receive the harshest penalties possible. And I think they took the death penalty off the table, but apparently this 19-year-old mass shooter is going to spend the rest of his life in jail. But I saw Crump there and I was trying to figure out what was his angle there. Like,
he's probably going to represent the folks who were shot in terms of a lawsuit against the store or something along those lines. So remember, Ben Crump is a civil attorney for these cases. And so he is representing the clients in terms of the victims in lawsuits against usually the state or private company. So he's not involved in the prosecution. That's done by the district attorney's office, of course. And so when we had the person who came on in this video, the white guy, the attorney, and he spoke of the tragic incident. Normally what they say is the criminal incident, right? Because he's a prosecutor of crime, supposedly. And you can see already what happens in these cases is that these prosecutors are reluctant to prosecute the police. It takes forever to get indictments or to move on criminal charges because their preference is either to see if they can sweep it under the rug, or their preference is to prepare a case which they know that they can throw if it gets in front of a grand jury, which means they're hoping that the grand jury doesn't indict. Or when they prosecute these cases, when they're sort of forced to prosecute these cases around the police, what they do is they overcomplicate the case in a lot of ways and leave room for reasonable doubt by confusing their own case in front of a jury, which allows for a defense attorney in terms of who's representing whoever the indicted party is to come in and do, the work of a defense attorney and try to sow the reasonable doubt. So I think there's a lot of moving parts on these cases. Ben Crump is somebody, he obviously is not barred in 50 states, but he's connected to some law firms that he either has some sort of consulting agreement with or some kind of agreement with, or he has a firm that has status in all 50 states, because otherwise he could not pop up in everywhere around the country claiming to represent these people, because there's no way he's individually barred in all these states. So it's a lot of dynamics that are going on, but I think I agree though, when I hear Ben Crump's name, I instantly think the thing that he most is interested in, you're right, is a settlement, which is what people are looking for. Which means he gets paid, his law firm gets paid, and because folks don't necessarily, because folks only see the way, again, the way capitalism works on all of us is that we see money settlements as justice, and folks who are fighting for money settlements, it's like, well, what else can I get out of this system? Because I don't feel like I'm going to get any real justice. So at the very least, I need resources to take care of the fact that my loved one is gone, has been hurt, has been damaged. Well, that person themselves have had all of that. So, yeah.
When the Buffalo shooting took place, our comrade that we had on the show, she mentioned that Crump the Chump had reached out to the family immediately. And of course, what he does is he tries to find the members who are quote unquote apolitical, the members who aren't too, who go with the name recognition. part of what Crump's position is as well is like that of Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. When he comes to town, then they know that we got to cut a deal. You know what I'm saying? It's a money game. Like you said, it's a civil suit. So, you know, this is part of the fanning the flame, because of the fact that, again, the people don't realize that he's not coming in as a criminal attorney, or that he's not a criminal attorney. They're just looking like, okay, well, here comes Crump. You know what I mean? So we're about to, you know, they'll organize, quote unquote, some people in the streets or whatever. They'll get with the locals and they'll feel good because of the fact that wherever he goes, the national cameras are going to go. You understand what I'm saying? So in one sense, he's good for cases that won't get any pub, right? But on the other side, it's all about the Benjamins, Benny Crump. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's there for. He's there to get that paper. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, he might get the family members some crumbs or whatever the case, get them a few speaking engagements or whatever the case is, as long as they go along with the script. And then if they don't go along with the script, then of course, you know, then the other bottom feeders will seep in, and before long, the family members will be looked at and accused of being uncouth and crazy and all this other nonsense, whatever. So I'm beginning to believe, I'm inclined to believe that his position is that of an op. You know, he's here to disrupt and to, you know, so we got to dig a little deeper. Like Kamal said, you know, are you licensed to practice in all these different states? Or, and I know in some cases, because of the fact we've dealt with different cases where he had partnered with folks like here in Georgia. You know, we partnered with different firms or whatever. And of course, they put his name out front because, again, the cameras are going to come in and they're going to say, hey, Benjamin Crump, that's the lawyer that everyone knows. You know what I'm saying? You know Lee Merritt, but Benjamin Crump, pound for pound, round for round, he's the Cochran of this era.
Which is interesting because he's really not the Cochran in terms of, at least Johnny Cochran won cases. Like Johnny Cochran established his reputation. Yeah, whatever you think of Cochran, right? Whatever you think of him in terms of him being like, you know, a little, you know, like a little slithery or whatever. He was actually an attorney that won cases in court, like got jury verdicts and all the rest of it. Crump just kind of, and you know, people may know better than me, but I felt like he just came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, it became the established attorney that folks turn to for these civil lawsuits involving police misconduct. And again, his reputation can only be based on settlements, which probably were already, because of the kind of cases they were. Some of these settlements were primed to be big settlements. It's almost as if you got a lawyer could only screw it up. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it was about good lawyering. They got the settlements. It was about the tragedy and the extent of the criminal activity in the crime that took place against these folks. But Crump just became like this mainstay attorney, like Kalonji's right, that everybody now calls or thinks of when something that particularly involving police violence or even racial violence. He steps in there as if he's got like a cape, and he's ready to come win a battle. And so it's kind of weird to me, like he just came out of nowhere without that kind of reputation of a Johnny Cochran, or who again had at least won both criminal and civil suits in terms of defending clients for criminal suits, but also winning settlements or winning judgments in civil lawsuit trials. So,
but what better way for the state to become victorious than to plant who they want to as leadership in the Black community? What better way than to have the attorney that's getting all the pub? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it ain't like the dude got any style. It ain't like he got flair. At least Johnny Cochran, like you said, not only won cases, but he had some style. He had some pizzazz about his joint. This cat right here is just about, again, he's the new, you know, the Sharpton getting old, the Jacksons. This is what it is. And there's always some Negro that's in the forefront that's perpetrating and pretending to fight for the people. And that trickles down not only from the attorneys, but the quote unquote grassroots organizations as well. You know what I'm saying? The quote unquote organizers, all of these folks that you see parading on TV that's looking for a deal. You know what I'm saying? That's more concerned with how many goddamn Twitter followers they have than actual results. You know, so this is what he is. He is a byproduct of capitalism. You understand what I'm saying? He is an invention. He's a figment of our imagination, because if you think that if this is your chance, folks that go for Trump are the same folks that think that voting is going to get us up out of this piece. You know what I'm saying? You can't possibly, in your right mind, think that this dude right here is going to get you anything but maybe a couple bucks. You know what I'm saying? At best, and some media time. You know, so I mean, it's clear. I mean, let's keep it 100.
So one case that Crump is involved in that I don't know a lot about, but I'm interested in knowing more about it, is that here in the state of Maryland, he is suing Baltimore City Public Schools, or suing the Baltimore City outright on behalf of public school students, on the grounds that Baltimore City Public Schools have failed Baltimore children and, you know, the community at large. And I'm not sure what the angle is of that, or even where in the process this lawsuit is, but I know he's involved. And that's kind of an anomaly from the usual kind of cases that he is usually participating in. Like you said, he's there to clean up, to try to get the settlement after the fact. I'm curious to see what will happen with this lawsuit that he has going against Baltimore City.
I'm sure in Crump's mind, he sees himself as a civil rights attorney and advocate. And so he's a mainstream player, like a mainstream, not only a lawyer, but a liberal to moderate mainstream, I don't even want to use the word organizer or activist, public figure. And so you're like, he's not out here to quote unquote abolish the police. He's not out here to challenge capitalism. He feels his role, he's classic in one of these folks who continually work in this way, is that you're going to slowly but surely make changes through the legal system and putting pressure through policy as your only mechanisms and means for change. And at the same time as that's happening, he will also enrich himself, right? So as the classic, you know, like there's a story a week or so ago about how Al Sharpton got paid from National Action Network something like $300,000 plus bonus money of $300,000, plus the amount of private planes he took, over $1 million. Private cars that he took was like $500,000. And so the idea is that this person they continue to use Black suffering, Black oppression as a means to further enrich themselves. And that's not even talking about in terms of Al Sharpton, right? But the money he makes from MSNBC, the money he makes from radio shows. This is a guy who grew up particularly in New York, right, as somebody who positioned themselves from being somewhat of a laughable person in terms of even movement circles, and even the mainstream media treated him as a joke, to somebody who somehow, right, talking about how these Black Friday things happen and all that kind of stuff, who did a switch from wearing Adidas jogging suits to three-piece suits, and all of a sudden got treated with respect in mainstream media, in corporate media, and was allowed to be placed at the head of the game in terms of being an advocate for Black people. That just don't happen, right? That's just not something that just pops out of nowhere. That's somebody who is working with a team, who knows the game, who's part of the game, who's putting somebody in a position to make sure that anything. And remember, Al Sharpton was somebody who was tagged. He tagged along with radical organizers, particularly the December 12th movement, which was a New York-based radical organization back in the day, and who separated themselves from such in order to claim that mainstream notoriety and resources which have come along with that.
He's a ticket scalper. Dude went from being a ticket scalper to a CI number 7 wearing wires and whatnot to mainstream play. And I think that what really got him in the door was Jesse Jackson, when Jesse Jackson messed up when his mic was hot, when he was talking about cutting Obama's balls off. You know what I'm saying? That is when Jesse went down, and Al was right there to be the chief bottom feeder because there was no one else that had that particular experience and that notoriety. So he stepped into that particular space. Now there's going to be some more bottom feeders after him because he trained a whole lot of good folks. But you know, we're gonna watch for the hook. There's probably gonna be some of them Black Lives Matter folks, but you know, I'm not gonna be the one to gossip on here.
By the way, Al Sharpton has a movie coming out, a documentary about his life. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe it's called Loudmouth. Yes, and I was wondering,
bobblehead,
because you know it was the holiday weekend, so I spent a lot of time.
What's it gonna?
I spent a lot of time with my mom, and my mother listens to all that kind of Black media, and he was promoting his movie. And I'm wondering, I'm like, is he going to put the CI number 7 part in his documentary?
He can't touch that. He won't touch that. He's going to put in there how he went, you know, how he's always loved Black folks. He's moved. His life has been around fighting for the struggle and for the improvement of like Black lives and so forth. That's just going to be his thing. I mean, he just got busted again like a year ago, less than a year ago, around being connected to this huge development in Harlem, which was a gentrification project.
Yep.
So Al Sharpton will do literally anything that makes money for him, and he is shameless in that. He is shameless in that, and he'll position it continually to be of benefit to the larger Black community, of course. But in the end, it was always rumored going back to these lawsuits, right? So Al Sharpton would, a family, someone would be killed by the police. Al Sharpton would rush there again. He could get the publicity. The media came out and paid attention to Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton would hook the family up with the lawyer. So the lawyer, again, would settle the civil case. Rumors have always been prominent that the lawyers then would hit Sharpton off or hit off the National Action Network, Sharpton's organization, and that the families would then also hit off National Action Network. So the rumors have always been there that this guy was obviously doing this by no means seeking justice, but this became his niche, his career, his thing that he could do to not only become prominent, but have different streams of resources that came pouring in to him and his base, where you can't point to any improvement on the block where the National Action Network is, any material improvement in Black folks' lives, any ongoing programs or things that he's doing, any challenges to the state apparatus that have been consistent that shows there's been any benefit to the larger Black community. The benefit is going to Al Sharpton and his family.
From bad perm to political pimp, the rise of Al Sharpton. That really needs to be the name of the movie. I'm just spitballing here.
Who said that in the chat? Some of you, there are some wonderful titles for Al Sharpton's documentary popping up in the chat. Big up the chat. The chat remix chat remains undefeated.
The notorious perm.
Do we have time for another story? Because this story.
I think we're going to bring up the ear doctor, and then let's save it for after the segment.
Oh, I see him over there.
You see him over there lurking? You see him lurking? Yeah. I just saw the shiny shirt, so I wasn't. Yeah.
Woo! Shiny shirt. I'm over here.
That silver thing. That's silver. The silver.
Okay. Now I'm just over here pondering as usual.
Oh shit.
I ponder. Yo, because I was yesterday at the Black Man Lab, we was talking about hip hop and politics. And we had y'all know the rapper Young Dro, he was there. And big up to Minister Server, he came through and sat on the panel. But he was talking about how, to get the
that was a Young Dro.
Oh yeah.
What's the song Young Dro sang, Ear Doctor? Tell Jackie what song he sang.
That's not Deshaun is in here making me feel bad, just throwing it out. Just I feel so old.
The roof is off. He got a couple songs. The roof. He got FTB. Fuck that bitch. That's one of them. So it's
very nice.
Yeah. Lovely. So he's trying to figure out how to relate. Coming into knowledge and how to flip from his street people listening to somebody that's talking about some conscious stuff. So he's trying to figure that out. So I was just over here thinking about it, and then I seen this one interview, and I wanted to bring it up real quick for the break. So let's go ahead and take a quick break and see what this brother's thoughts on this topic was right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Make sure y'all hit that like button while y'all here. We got 264 people here live. Let's get 10 more. We might get a mix at the end of the show. Let's go. All right, so check this out. Like I said, I was talking about hip hop politics and how you can change the street people to listen to some consciousness. And I came across this one video of a brother that we have a lot of respect for and very much known for being a street dude. RIP to my brother Prodigy. So let's see what he was talking about right here when he tried to figure out how to do it.
What I'm doing is I need to just put more of the information that I know into my music, because I've been holding back a lot. And the reason I've been holding back a lot is just simply because I don't want to turn off a lot of my fans, man. My fans on the street, my fans in the hood. And I gotta have the right approach with the shit that I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? I don't want niggas to look at me like I got love for KRS, Mos Def, all the conscious rappers, but I don't want niggas looking at me like that, man. You know what I'm saying? Because niggas in the hood really don't respect these niggas. You know what I'm saying? They dig what they doing and shit. Like, niggas look up to Mos Def, man, as far as what he doing with his career and his movies and his music. But as far as on some hood shit, niggas ain't respecting these dudes, you know what I'm saying? Like, niggas got respect for KRS-One and all that, but to tell you the truth, man, niggas ain't buying that shit no more, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, truthfully, you go to any hood and ask them when's the last KRS-One album they bought. Ask them when's the last Mos Def album they bought. You know what I mean? Any of these conscious rappers, Common, Talib Kweli, anybody that you would consider a conscious rapper or whatever. And conscious means that you're conscious of what's going on in this world. You're fixed.
All right, as you can see, that's my man Prodigy from Mobb Deep. And as you know, he's very street when you talk about stabbing your brain with your nose bone and all types of things like that. So with that said, I'm going to leave it up and put it up in the air as a question, and I'll bring it back to the host as we get back to the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Yeah.
That was interesting.
It's kind of hard because it's like with the show business being a business, and we know that we don't control the whole label business part of it. Whereas in even Prodigy talking about, it's not going to sell because, as we know, what sells is murder, murder, kill, 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 disrespect, misogyny, and all that different types of stuff. So when
that's what sells now. That's what sells now. That wasn't always the case, though.
It wasn't always the case, but what he's trying to say is now more and more throughout the show business part, people are getting promoted out that bull. And then when you try to be like, all right, well, I learned some stuff, some consciousness, like P going to jail and then coming back, doing a lot of reading, coming back and be like, yo, this is how I see the world now. Street niggas is like, yo, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear
what Kim is alluding to or getting ready to say is that's not an accident, right? That also, when we look at things, we can't look at it as just like, oh, that just came upon us because street shit was kicking. I mean, there was times where conscious music dominated the streets.
Yeah.
Right. It's dominated hip hop music. It wasn't like it was something that only a certain crowd of folks that were listening to conscious music were listening to. And then there was a big flip over. Right. So it's not like it's some accident that music that may give rise to people thinking a certain way. And again, it's the way you've had even in recent time periods where so-called music that had some politics to it obviously can sell, and obviously is something that people listen to or listen out for. But if you have an industry that continually promotes violence or violent lyrics, as we like to say, or sex or drug use or just consumption as the main point of like how they make money, that is going to overwhelm any other aspect of music as it does. It's what we get on our radio stations, is what we get in videos, is what we don't even have to look for it, right? It just pops up and it's there. And if it's a catchy beat, no matter what the lyrics are, like we pop into it, right? So
no doubt.
And I think that's a reason, I mean, I don't, we can debate the level of Kendrick Lamar's consciousness, etc. But I mean, to me, he's a very good example of a rapper that's not necessarily focusing on sex and violence primarily as his main content, right? He talks about other things. Again, I can't speak to his level of consciousness, but I know he does not exclusively rap about sex and violence per se. And look how popular he is, right? Like that's who I hear the kids talk about when they talk about their favorite MCs. They will always go to Kendrick. They'll throw some other, one of them little so-and-so in there a couple times, but they will always reference Kendrick. And he's not rapping about that shit, right?
No doubt, no doubt. I just want to throw it up in the air because I said a lot of these rappers, they want to change, but they feel like they pigeonhole, like can't do it. But that's what
you had a hip hop panel and you didn't invite me,
huh?
You had a hip hop panel and I wasn't asked to be on as a
boy.
Jay-Z said these rappers are scared to be themselves.
I really feel like if you have, and I'm gonna make this real quick because I don't want to cut too much into Kalanji's guest. If you have some street cred, you can say what you want. You have he's got the platform. These folks in the street are respecting what he's doing. He's got their ear, so he can slide some stuff in there. Nobody's expecting him to be spitting shit like the next John Henrik Clark, but you've got these folks' ear. Drop something in their ear while they're listening to you, and be a little bit subversive with it, and stop just giving up that audience to the lesser the
lowest common denominator of content.
Yeah, thank you to the lowest common denominator. Be subversive with that knowledge. You've got the platform, use it.
And people act like folks on the street are not politicized in certain ways. Like folks sometimes do what they do because they got to survive, but it's not. Folks understand the system that has captured us. When you got folks whose families, the way we like sort of been brought up, the way folks have lived, living project life, living folks who've been locked down, all that stuff has naturally politicized people. And again, even as we talked a little bit about last week, people get politicized in different ways. And so it may not be the way I appreciate politicalization or being politicized or thinking about how the system works. But a lot of times that's what's moved people to be in some of these other different organizations, whether religious or street or whatever, but because they offer some level of political consciousness for them. And so it's not like these folks don't have an understanding of how the political system works, what's our role in it, what we've been used for, how the prison system works and all the rest of it. That is something which people know. And if you're right, it's just waiting for the right artist or the right group or the right people again to bring it back to folks, or to come from that world and to offer a level of political work or ideas or understanding which can reach masses of people. So it's there to be plucked, let's say.
Welcome to the Remix Morning Show. So it's a pleasure to be here with you good folks out there. We do have a guest coming on. I know that many of you remember us talking about on this particular platform and other platforms. You heard us talk about a particular case that took place in Gulfport, Mississippi. I'm sorry. And it was around a 15-year-old brother who was shot at a dollar store there by the name of Jaheim McMillan. Some of you may remember, this brother was unarmed, 15-year-old, and he was murdered by police in Gulfport. This is a picture of him here. Today, I've been trying to bring his family on for a minute, but I had to reschedule. And today I wanted to make sure that I got his aunt on and one of his supporters, one of the strong supporters from his campaign. So we're going to be right with you in a second with Natasha Boyd and Pastor Carl Soto, Remix Morning Show. Peace. How y'all doing today?
Well, thank you.
Okay,
well.
okay. All right. Good to have you on. Natasha, good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
We chatted a couple times and it's been kind of difficult, but we're here now, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I want to, if you all don't mind, because I haven't gotten a chance to talk to the good Pastor Carl Soto. I saw some of his work, and I want to commend you for that work that you're doing in your area and around the country. So if you don't mind, Natasha, introduce yourself and also tell us who Pastor Carl Soto is, if you don't mind.
My name is Natasha Boyd. I'm Jaheim McMillan's aunt. I'm his father's sister. Pastor Carl Soto is one of our biggest advocates and supporters and advisors. He came in and he's been helping us, and I'm forever grateful for him.
Right on. Pastor Carl is here with the newborn, so if some of you can't see him, it looks like he's just looking at his arm, but he said he had the baby with him today, so definitely good to see you as well, Pastor Carl. For folks who are unfamiliar with your nephew and the case, can you take us back to October 6th and give us an idea of what went on and what has taken place since then?
Pastor Carl, did you want to do that, or you want me to go ahead and do that?
I can. October 6th, 15-year-old Jaheim McMillan was with a few of his teen friends that he grew up with, and what we do know is he was with his friends. A 17-year-old was driving a Camry that pulled into a Family Dollar on Pass Road in Gulfport, Mississippi. What we do know is 8 seconds after the Camry that contained Jaheim that pulled into the parking lot, 8 seconds later, Jaheim was shot in the head, execution style, by a member of the Gulfport, Mississippi Police Department. In the wake of his death, there's been swindling allegations made by members of the community and the chief of police of Gulfport, Chief Cooper, a Kia Soul, not a Camry, a Kia Soul. But in the wake of his death, there's been swindling allegations made by the chief of police as to what happened or what led to the shooting. What we do know is that the evidence that has been brought forward to the public that consists of witness testimony, surveillance footage of a nearby business, and amongst other things, the evidence that has been brought forth indicates that this was an unjustifiable shooting and this child was murdered with his hands up. The evidence that is public has left that has been made public has left the community outraged, and activists from all over the country are concerned with the integrity and the transparency of this case.
Okay, so you're saying that you mentioned an 8-second video. Can you run that back? What do you mean when you say that?
Well, what I mean by 8 seconds is the video that we were able to view that's from a nearby business from the Family Dollar. It reveals that the entire altercation between Jaheim and this officer lasted a total of 8 seconds, from the point the officer pulled in behind the Kia Soul to the point that Jaheim was shot in the head. 8 seconds. The video reveals that when the Kia Soul pulled in, it shows the driver of the vehicle, for unknown reasons, a 17-year-old, get out and start running one direction. And then it shows Jaheim, who was sitting on the rear passenger side of the vehicle, open his door. And when he opened his door and got out, the Gulfport officer jumped out of his vehicle as well with his gun already drawn, pointing at Jaheim. And the video shows that as Jaheim opened the door and he jumped out, he was met by the officer. It looks like Jaheim attempted to run for the front door of the Family Dollar, and it shows the officer chasing him and shooting at him at the same time. It shows the officer's weapon going off numerous times. I can't even tell you how many specifically. And this officer had a lousy shot, missed multiple times, but it shows that when Jaheim got to the front door, he turned around, looks like he put his hands up and was shot in the head and killed instantly. In the wake of his death, the chief of police made an allegation that this young man had a weapon in his hands and pointed this weapon at the officer, which made the officer feel that his safety was in jeopardy. And the issue that we have with that is there has been absolutely no evidence that's been revealed to the public that indicates that this child ever had a weapon in his hands or anywhere in his possession. The specific law enforcement agency has body cameras that were implemented for all uniformed officers. And we can confirm that on the day that Jaheim was killed, the officer who killed him did have active worn body camera that was on his persons on the time that Jaheim was killed. And the Gulfport Police Department is for the last 2 months has refused to release this body camera footage, making up all the excuses you can think of from that it's been turned over to other law enforcement entities for their review, to all types of unfounded allegations. There's been a total of 9 witnesses that were at the Family Dollar that have come forward publicly, acknowledging that they saw the encounter, and at the time Jaheim was killed, his hands were up, and there was not any weapon in his hands or on his persons. So basically, where we're at now is we can safely say that this was an unjustifiable shooting. The Gulfport, Mississippi Police Department is not being forthcoming or transparent in their investigation or the information that they have provided to the community. And we are now demanding accountability and the arrest of the officer who unjustifiably took this child's life.
Natasha, thank you for that, Pastor Soto. We have okay, so he's running for this Family Dollar. There had to be footage from the Family Dollar. What has been the Family Dollar's response?
Well, they it took them several weeks to release the footage they had. It was a letter put out saying they gave it to the family, but they didn't, and we had to search it, run it down, and find out that they said they gave it to an attorney. But from what I understand, it's showing the door, but just the head up, and it was posters in the door, I guess sales ads and stuff. And it doesn't show anything below when he drops down.
If I can add to that, Family Dollar, we have reason to believe that they're not being transparent either. As Mrs. Boyd has just stipulated, they did release a video of the incident recently, I think within the past 2 weeks. The video that they released is surveillance video from inside the store. And inside, and the angle that it captured does not reveal much. And what's concerning is I made contact with the store manager of that location, and she explicitly informed me that the camera surveillance equipment that they had was very good and detailed, and was pretty good. And basically it was able to capture their surveillance. They have cameras that point out to the parking lot. They have cameras that show inside. It has cameras that show at the entrance, and it has cameras that show almost in every aisle inside the store. And what's concerning is it does appear that Family Dollar only released one portion or one camera that was from within the store that does not reveal much. And I guess the angle that it's showing, it just shows decorations and posters on the front door that pretty much blocks the entire encounter. This store manager is convinced that there's other available footage that Family Dollar has that they're refusing to release for unknown reasons. This store manager stipulated again that there's cameras that point directly into the parking lot that they have for various reasons that they implemented because of previous thefts and things like that. That's able to show vehicles coming in and out, and it shows their front door, pretty well. And what we do know is that Family Dollar has not released that video. Why, we don't know it. I mean, at this point, it's just safe to speculate that they are conspiring with law enforcement to conceal the truth of what actually happened.
I have not seen the Family Dollar video. Myself, my sister, we still haven't seen it.
So they're saying that they gave it to an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw it, Pastor Soto? Or?
I have not seen it, and apparently, what it is the child's mother, Mrs. Mateen, did hire 2 different attorneys that is currently actively working on the case. Initially, there was a first attorney that was that's out of Memphis, Tennessee, to my understanding, that initially was working on the case for the first few weeks, I guess, and decided to recuse himself from the case. And the case is now in the hands of Mr. Warren Conway of Gulfport, Mississippi, and Benjamin Crump. Now, the surveillance footage was never turned over to neither one of those attorneys. Apparently, it was turned over to the first attorney that initially was on the case out of a different city and state. I did receive word that that footage has been turned over to the current attorneys, and the current attorneys are frustrated because they're indicating that that video surveillance is not the best, and it's not showing what they need to see, what it needs to show. And we are all convinced that, again, Family Dollar is not being forthcoming and releasing all of the camera footage that they do have available that does show exactly what happened.
And this is wild because, we talk about community exploitation. Family Dollar is in every hood damn near in America, right? All over the United States, you can find a Family Dollar, just like Chinese restaurants in the hood. You know what I'm saying? You can guarantee that somewhere you're going to find a Family Dollar. But yet, when it comes to justice and their concern or whatever, they don't have any. They're not concerned, and as you see, I mean, I'm with you. And if I was to speculate, absolutely, the police have their fingers on these decisions. Real quick, your nephew, give us an understanding of, or an idea of who he was. We're talking about a 15-year-old, and it's important because they often want to criminalize our youth. And here it is, you're telling me that an 8-second altercation ends with a 15-year-old child. A 15-year-old child getting shot in the head. Who was Jaheim McMillan?
Jaheim was a 15-year-old child. He was funny. He liked girls. He liked hanging out with his friends. He liked playing video games. He really liked hanging with, with his family. He liked cooking. He liked eating. And he was with his friends. And from what I understand, someone made a call about some kids, some black males in a car. And so that's how the police was supposed to have gotten their radar on them. But that area, Gulfport is the second largest city in Mississippi, but it's small. It's still a small area. And so I don't know. I just know that somebody called the police. And from what I was told, they said that they were brandishing weapons, according to the police chief Cooper. And but we have yet to be able to substantiate that.
So no weapons were found on the scene. No weapons were found on Jaheim's person. Rather, I'm not even going to say the scene.
Yeah, because they said weapons were located, but like I said, we don't know. They didn't allow certain people on the scene. Some witnesses say he didn't have, several witnesses say he didn't have anything in his hand pertaining to a weapon. And I try not to, they told me, I'm not supposed to say too much because it is a pending
Right. No, I understand.
open case. So,
Yes.
but my thing is, if Jaheim did what they said he did, it didn't warrant him being murdered. It warranted him being tried and sentenced and hopefully that would have been his wake up moment for him to say, hey, this isn't the path I need to be on, or I didn't, because he didn't think that day, October the 6th, was going to be the last day he was going to walk this earth. And also, they were out of school that day. They were out of school. It was a break. So they expelled the friends. So the 4 friends that's with him, they've been expelled from school since then. They haven't been able to go to school.
So wait. So the children that were with him, and they were expelled for what? Jaheim was murdered by the police.
School board, if I can interject, the school board unlawfully expelled the students and accused the students of behaving in an unbecoming manner during school hours, even though the district already had, I guess, this 2-week break set, or on the date that this happened, the children were on a 2-week break from school. This incident had nothing to do with school or anything regarding school campus, and the school district did unlawfully expel all of the students, all of the children that were involved with the incident. We are in the process of assisting the students and their families with filing a lawsuit against the district for this unlawful termination, and to get more to speak more specifically on this case that I can say that Mrs. Boyd can't. When it comes to the allegation of weapons, I can confirm that the vehicle that they were in, there was a lockbox in the glove compartment that the children did not have access to. There were 4 boys, one of them not. But I did have a chance to speak with one of the boys' fathers, who confirmed that he does work security and he does own firearms. He kept firearms in the car. Long before those boys had access to it, he kept it in there for his protection. There has been no evidence that's been brought forward that these boys ever used those weapons, brandished those weapons, or anything. The concern that I do have is a few days after Jaheim was killed, Chief Cooper of the Gulfport, Mississippi Police Department did a 20-minute press conference. He used that time to make a series of allegations against Jaheim and the boys, as Mrs. Boyd stipulated. He made an allegation that a 911 call was placed, stipulating that these boys were riding around the city, terrorizing the city, brandishing firearms, so forth. And that's what led to officers within that department to locating that vehicle and up to the incident that left Jaheim dead. He also made the allegation that, again, like I stipulated earlier, that Jaheim pointed a weapon at the officer, which is why the officer shot in fear for his life. If all of those allegations were true, unfortunately, this would be a justifiable shooting. Unfortunately, what I can tell you from a legal standpoint is anytime you have a chief that makes a series of allegations like this and addresses the media and the public, making a series of allegations against a citizen or a child, especially allegations of this sort, that chief has an expectation and a requirement to at least reveal some form of evidence that substantiates or corroborates his accusations. And what was appalling to me, and I'm a law school graduate, and I've had the fortunate opportunity of working extensive amount of hours with multiple law firms that practices in this area of law. So I can tell you from a legal standpoint, at the end of that press conference, a reporter asked one question, and that response is what let me know that there's something horribly wrong with the transparency and the integrity of this case. And at the end of the press conference that the chief conducted, a reporter asked one question, and that is, where is the body camera footage of the officer of the incident that captures the incident that led to the shooting? The chief, now again, this was at the conclusion of the press conference. At that time, the chief had made a series of allegations saying, well, Jaheim pointed a weapon at our officers. There was a 911 call that was placed saying they were brandishing firearms. And at the conclusion of this press conference, the chief says, oh, that's been turned over to Miss MBI. MBI is going to have to released that at their time. NBI is now leading the investigation. I'm not permitted to share that video with you. That let me know from a legal standpoint that this chief was not being forthcoming or transparent. If he can make a 20-minute press conference or conduct himself in a 20-minute press conference addressing the public, making these allegations, then he can have the receipts or the evidence that corroborate his statements. Typically, when it comes to an incident that involves officer-involved shooting that led, with a citizen, and there's evidence to support law enforcement's allegations or collaborate the statements or assertions made by that entity, they typically have evidence that they produce immediately or within a quick time frame,
especially during this climate,
that can be made public, that can verify or assert the assertions, the allegations as true. And this chief, like I said, did a whole 20-minute press conference and made a series of allegations. But when it came time to produce the proof, the evidence to support his claims, now all of a sudden it's classified. But he can tell you all of these, he can make these accusations with his mouth. But when it comes time to produce the evidence, now it's nowhere to be found. You're saying NBI now has it, and they're telling class, or they have to release it at their time, but you can address the public and make these allegations. This is what lets me know, or let any other legal expert know, that there's something horribly wrong with this story. Again, 9 witnesses that were at the scene. 7 of those witnesses didn't even know each other prior to this incident, and they're all saying the same thing. Every last one of them, that this boy's hands were up at the time that he was killed. That they did not see a weapon anywhere in his possession or on his person.
They didn't see it because it didn't exist. That's probably why they didn't see it.
Exactly. That's why they have not produced that evidence, because it did not. It did not. There is no evidence to support that. And another concerning thing is, after this incident, the 4 boys that were with Jaheim, they were unlawfully detained They were detained, unlawfully interrogated without their parents. Without the presence of their parents. As you know, there's a state and federal law that requires a legal guardian or custodial parent for a minor to be present at the time of interrogation. And the Gulfport, Mississippi Police Department unlawfully interrogated these boys for hours, even though their parents and legal guardians pleaded with that department to let them in, to be with their children. Gulfport PD chose to violate the law and isolate these boys from their parents and interrogated them unlawfully to obtain information. And then they unlawfully charged these boys with crimes that evidence did not support. These boys sat in jail for over a week on very, very high bonds. I think it was over $500,000 per child until members of the community intervened and combined with the local NAACP branch and other activists intervened and was able to get it back in front of a judge, and they were able to reduce the bonds of each child. I'm still appalled that these charges are still currently pending without evidence, but the way that the Gulfport, Mississippi Police Department handled themselves before, during, and after lets me know that there is a serious problem with the way that they police the community. And it's evident to me that this chief has no intentions on being impartial. There is a requirement for a police chief and any uniformed officer to be impartial when they police our community. And when we are seeing when we are viewing evidence that shows that these officers refuse to be impartial or professional when policing our community, the great concern for the safety of not only our children but any citizen that lives in that area. And in the wake of Jaheim's death, we have grown more concerned. In fact, it just raised more questions as to what really happened on that day than we received answers. We are appalled, like I said, by the actions of the Gulfport, Mississippi Police Department and the mayor of that area. And we have strong evidence to believe that this was murder. And this shooting was unjustified. There was no evidence to support, again, that this child ever had a weapon in his possession. And in fact, again, I just want to reiterate that 9 witnesses are all saying that his hands were up at the time that he was shot. One of the witnesses includes an elderly lady, a white Uber driver, a white woman, an Uber driver that just so happened to be dropping off a client at the location and just drove into the midst of the incident. And she was in tears and scared for her life and told the truth, went publicly and posted to social media everything that she saw, and, acknowledging that his hands were up at the time that he was shot. So we have been making a demand for the release of this body camera footage, and as to date, Gulfport Police Department is still refusing to release it. So it's safe to speculate that they are not going to release this video, and they know that this is murder, and they're trying their best to cover it up, and we refuse to let that happen.
Real quick, we have about 60 seconds. Where are we today, and how can our viewers support this campaign?
Well, continue to support the family. Mrs. Boyd is still on the line. Continue to support the Mateen and McMillan family by sharing Jaheim's story. There is weekly protests that are going on in the area that we ask that people come out to support. There's a big event that's going to take place on December 3rd. That's going to involve activists from all over the world that are coming, impacted families from all over the U.S. That are coming. And when I say impacted families, other families that have been impacted by police brutality, such as the families of Emmett Till, Michael Brown, Oscar Grant, Ruben DeBrose, Andrew Joseph III, Jacob Blake, Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on and on. They're all going to be going out there to Gulfport to stand with the family and in this mass protest and this demand for accountability and transparency. So we are asking that the community or people that can come out.
We will definitely highlight it and keep us posted on what's going on. And shout out to the Joseph family. Sister Dina Joseph is actually who put me in touch with Natasha Boyd. So I appreciate you all coming on. I know it's early over there. Like I said, we stand with you here at Black Power Media Remix Morning Show. You have my contact information. Whenever anything needs to get out, let us know. And we stand by you, and we will absolutely send some of our supporters in the Mississippi area out to what's going on December 3rd. We appreciate you all coming on. Stay strong, and we're with you. Justice for Jaheim.
Thank you.
Right on. We're checking out the Remix Morning Show. That was time.
Crazy story. Crazy story.
It's insane, man. This is this is the way it goes, and this is part of my earlier rant, for lack of better words. It's beyond frustrating. Here it is. This child is 15 years old, and they murder him. And they don't even have enough respect to tell the truth, show the cameras, produce the cameras, and not just the police, but the Family Dollar. You know what I mean? So in the mortal words of NWA, here's what they think of you. You understand what I'm saying? They care nothing about you. They will come in there and they will sell you cheap materials and make wheelbarrows full of money and have no respect for you. Pay their workers the lowest of wages, have their workers fight and chase folks down for some funky trinkets, And then here it is, this child, this 15-year-old, who could have been any one of our children. Not only that, the school board, to show you how criminal and complicit they are, they expel these other boys. They expel them after they witnessed their friend murdered. They expel them while they were on a school break. Boy, I tell you, this is Welcome to the United States of America, home of the thief and the slave. Anyway.
And what's heartbreaking about Jaheim's case is that it's not getting the national attention that, for example, Tamir Rice got, as he deserved to get for being shot down by police while literally doing nothing wrong. I mean, like you said, this is a child. This is a teenager, a baby, a 10th grader. And the police murdered him, gave out this phony story. And that's another thing that, circling back to what you said earlier, Kalanji, about and what Jackie asked, like what more can be done from our perspective to sort of change minds in our communities. We have to make sure that people do not believe what the police say. I think that's part of the reason why this case is not getting the national spotlight that it really deserves, because the police are very effective at putting out their narrative, and the media are very ineffective at following up with what the police accounts or what the police stated facts are. And I appreciate your guest bigging up a reporter there who asked the police chief, well, where are the body cameras? Like these are very simple, obvious questions to ask to challenge the police narrative, because again, too oftentimes what the police say is taken as gospel, is taken as fact. And we've seen this play out time and time again. The very first statement, second, third, fourth, fifth statements that the cops put out is usually some bullshit. It's usually some shit that they made up. It's usually some stuff that they sat around and colluded to try to make the end result suit their narrative or to justify whatever force that they use. It's so important for Black Power Media and other outlets to keep lifting up Jaheim's name about what happened to him and keep putting the pressure to make sure that those who are responsible get brought to account. But what does accountability even look like when your 15-year-old is dead? You know what I mean? Like, it looks like blood to me, but I mean, we know that that's not coming. So I'm just heartbroken again by what happened to this young man and to his friends.
I think your mic is on mute, Kamal. I think Kamal's mic is on mute. I don't know if you can.
Can you guys hear me now?
There you go.
Oh, so sorry about that. I was saying, like, one of the other things is the lack of release of the body cam image, which, whether we like it or not, usually plays a large role in how much attention the media gives to a different narrative than what the police give. Because you're so correct when you said that time and time again, with the police writing their official reports, is their version, not the truth, but their version, which justifies their actions. And that's continually what happens. And it's only if again, you just thinking back into my days as defense attorney, it's only after we get other conflicting information, i.e. video or pictures or other testimony, that we get to put together a real story about what's taking place. But unfortunately, in this day and age, it's usually that videotape information which shows the direct contradiction between what the police are saying and what actually happens that has moved people, right? Not exclusively, but a lot of times that is. And it's got to be a reason why the police are working so hard to make sure any body cam and any videotape from the Dollar General has not been released to the public, because it probably will contradict their story and send a sense of outrage to people if they see this young man holding up his hands while being shot. And so that's why, as you guys have pointed out, it's so important that we bring out this information, because otherwise it's not going to get out to a larger public. Something that happens in Mississippi gets still to this day buried in Mississippi. And unless we bring it out, or unless other outlets start to cover this and bring it out, unfortunately, that family and their supporters are not going to get the national support that they need to even force the police to release this information, or force the courts to force the police to release this information.
I mean, the child's been dead literally going on 2 months next week, and you haven't produced any body cam footage. In during the particular climate that we're in right now, most departments are rushing to try to quell the situation as soon as possible. They're trying to put something out in a matter of days, because they know that even though they're the police and even though they'll probably get away with it, they don't need the extra smoke. But as you stated, a place like Mississippi, the blood on the leaves and the roots, they have that mentality that they maintain and that they will always maintain, because they have no concern about the people. I mean, look at Jackson. You can't even get clean water. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not a question of justice. It's this is the reality, and this is a microcosm of the macrocosm. This is what the United States is in with the floodlights on it. You know what I'm saying? And it's only because of social media that folks are able to hear about these stories. And that is why I am stressing and pushing. I'm grateful that we have built Black Power Media. I want to make sure that what we have to offer is like no other. I want to make sure that we are pulling the covers off of these bastards, because they've hidden so long. Like I said, it's over 1,000 police murders alone. That's just reported.
Yeah.
So far this year, and counting.
And that doesn't count the people that died in police custody. That doesn't count the amount of people that have died behind the wall in jails this year either.
That's right. That's right. And it continues. So we're going to continue to fight. We'll keep you updated on these cases. It's crazy just listening to some of the names, the families that they called off, and just, you know, I mean, we've had some of these families on this platform, you know, and I need you to know it's not a badge of honor. It's not what we want to do. You know, we don't want to say, hey, look who we got such and such on. No, this has to stop. This has to stop. I saw someone in the chat. They highlighted something saying that is triggering and no more. Look, we need to point it all out. You need to know. You need to know, because if we're triggered, imagine how the family members feel. You know what I'm saying? That was someone's son. You looked at his aunt on the screen, you know, talking about this is her brother's child. This is someone that she watched grow up, and he hasn't had the opportunity. He hasn't had the opportunity to even live partially life that we've lived. For all practical purposes, he's 15 years old. I mean, he's came and gone. And we can think back what we were doing 15 years ago. 15 years ago, he was born. There's no more 15 years for him. Kevin Johnson, in about 8 hours and some change, he'll be no more. Imagine that you're on death row and you're counting down the time, every minute, every second, because these bastards decided that you no longer have a right to live. So Kevin Johnson's daughter, Corey, who is 19 right now and has a 2-month-old, his daughter Corey's mother was murdered when she was 4 years old in front of her. She's already witnessed an execution. She's already lost a parent. But the state cares nothing about that. They're going to go in and take her father as well, because they can. So yeah, yes, we have to organize, and yes, we've tried everything, but we haven't tried enough of everything. We haven't tried enough. So my thoughts and prayers and heart goes out to all of these victims, but they also go out to the fighters. They go out to those amongst us who care more about the whole and generations ahead of us than we do ourselves. You know, this is a man. It's a hell of a It's a hell of a situation we living under, man. If there's a hell and it's worse than this, I'd be surprised.
But you raise a good point, Kalanji. Well, lots of good points, and the chat does too. I mean, it's not easy, I'm sure, for you all to receive these stories if you've not heard them, or even if you do know what some of the particulars are of our people that are facing incredible injustice and being killed at the same time, with no accountability. But it's also hard for us to bring you all these stories because there's no pleasure in this. I don't bring nobody wants to talk about somebody that was unjustly murdered, taken, and there will be nothing, no repercussions or anything coming after that. But it's like the alternative is not telling you the story. The alternative is talking about Kanye dumbass in whatever the fuck he was doing recently. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's not the kind of time that we on, because we don't really care about that. That might be some shit that we kiki about, you know, for shits and gigs to kind of lighten the mood. But it is important that we bring y'all these very heavy, difficult stories, because I don't want future generations to look back and be like, well, how come they didn't talk about the shit? How come they didn't even mention it? How come they didn't bring it up? How come nothing was even said or done about it? Nope. That's not going to be that's not going to be laid at my feet in particular, and not at our feet at all. So I know it's hard to hear these stories. I know our hearts are continually broken, but for the grace of God go I. Like, that could any one of these cases that we talk about could very easily be us. It could be you. It could be somebody that you care about, and we don't want that to continue to happen. So it's important to raise awareness. And I know that sounds kind of trite too. Raise awareness. Well, if you don't know, then you got to be aware at the baseline. Awareness is the baseline, and then we take it from there. But that is our charge. That's something that we take very seriously, and we appreciate you all's kindness and compassion and empathy and anger and passion when you hear these stories too. But we have to tell them. And
I think you called it out right, Kim. You said, like, this could be any of us. These aren't like unique stories about folks that happened someplace else. This is our story. This is our story of life in America. So at any moment, this could be one of us, or somebody we know, or a cousin, or a brother, or a friend of a friend. There's always going to be these connections, because this is the oppression that we face. And I think, as folks have also pointed out in the chat, the only way to fight back is to continue to do that, to continue to organize, because we cannot just give up and allow our folks to be killed, murdered, whether it's done through the state or state actors, but whether or not it's done through vigilante actors, whether or not it's done through the conditions that we suffer, which is the long death, right? The long death of poverty and homelessness, the long death of having our culture stripped from us, the long death of not having access to resources and ways to build up our communities. Those are the things that we fight against every day. So it's the short-term death, it's the right in your face, the stark stuff, but it's also the things that impact us on a day-to-day basis, that we have to understand that only we are going to fight and solve those problems. And so for us, a way of talking about this is, because we know most of the folks in the chat, if they're not actual organizers or activist types, they are concerned about these issues, and they will do what they can and hopefully do more, as the rest of us try to also do more to uplift, bring out, and then do some organizing and work around these stories. So we're in fellowship together. I don't use that term lightly. Like, this is not just a broadcast of us giving you information and not expecting folks to do things and to work on it, not to give their own stories about what's happening. So, and ways in which they fought back against these things. This is fellowship. We are here for each other. We're here to support each other. We're here to work with each other. We're here to make sure that the stories get told the best way with the limited access and resources we have. And we're looking to make sure that this stuff spreads so that we can all figure out how we continue to do this work to stop this stuff from happening to us. And if that's not our goal, if that's not really what we're here for, then we shouldn't be here, right? Because that's really what it comes down to in the end.
And salute to all the folks who aren't in the chat, because I have the opportunity to speak to a number of folks who check us out regularly, and they give us feedback, but they're not chat people. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's tons of folks, known and unknown, that support us, and we really truly appreciate that. You know, yeah, it's one of those days, but we have to serve as the reminders, because oftentimes part of the confusion with capitalism and the lies of capitalism is to make you think that everything's hunky-dory and all you have to worry about is what some entertainers are doing or saying. You know what I'm saying? And that is what we call the sidetracking of the slave. That is when you are willingly helping to lull yourself to sleep because you know better. You know it's wars going on. You know it's political prisoners. You know folks are being executed. I was thinking about Kevin last night after I got the text. We some of us listened to the oral arguments yesterday, right? And it's wild because I sent it out to folks and people were hitting me back like, yeah, you know, it sounds like, man, he might stand a chance, so on and so forth, because some of the judges were, you know, they was questioning the attorney general as if, you know, if it was going to be like, it might be all right, like they really cared. But I told them to be careful because of the fact that that's what they do. They want to make you think that they concerned, that they care, that they actually are lovers of justice or humanity. I knew that when we interviewed him, when we spoke to him about 3 weeks ago, I knew that this day would come. Speaking to him, hearing his voice, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, you know, I'm hoping, as a hopelessly devoted lost soul, I'm hoping and I'm praying and I'm chanting and whatever else I need to do, that they find the human side of him and they see the good that he could bring to society. And he talked about his errors, his mistakes, and how he resented it, how he regretted it. But it was his pain as well. One of the things what Jackie was talking about earlier, you have to go back and listen to this man's story. You have to hear where he came from and what made him who he is today. Now, these same conditions can produce a Malcolm, they can produce a George Jackson, or they could produce a Jaheim McMillan, or they could produce a Tamir Rice. You know, so do not be dismayed. We haven't done enough. We haven't done enough. We have to keep it's a protracted struggle. It's not a hit and quit. There's plenty of battles. Battles make up the war. A battle is not a war. A battle is a part of the war. So whatever we put into it, whatever work we put into it, think about what Araminta, what Harriet did, how she's marching up and down the goddamn road in conditions. She didn't say, okay, I'm gonna go out there only, you know, I'm gonna check the weather report and I'm gonna see whether it's gonna rain tonight. She didn't say, you know, let me look for a paved road. There was no damn paved roads. You know, she didn't say, I hope, you know, masses sleep over here. She did what she had to do. So until we do that, until we do what Nat Turner did, until we did what the BLA did, or RAM, or some of these other folks, we haven't done enough. I'm sorry. You tired? I'm tired too. Trust me, the way this system works, they'll give us plenty of time to rest. They'll give us plenty of time to rest eternally. You don't even have to trip. Before we go, I want to say, tune in at 11 a.m. today. We'll have Dylan Rodriguez and Dr. Joy James on, and we'll be talking about this case and others. We'll be talking about the different types of death penalties that exist here in America, here in the United States, whether it's through them executing you outright in the streets, or whether it's you know, them putting you in an electric chair, or having you hanged, or whatever the case is. And by the way, when I say that, you know, there are 4 states right now that you can actually be hanged in. You can be hung in 4 different states in the United States on the book. It's legal. It's not, I mean, not just hanged, also firing squads. We're talking about 4 different states in the United States where firing squads can be implemented.
They
Look
just
it up.
brought back firing squads somewhere, didn't they? Didn't they just reinstate them? I want to say maybe Utah.
Well, South Carolina, but I think the last person executed in firing squad, I believe, was 2011 in Utah. Yeah, it was 2011. So it's not, people were like, oh, they're not gonna do that. Yeah. All right.
Don't you put nothing past them, dog. Don't you put nothing
listen,
past these motherfuckers. Not ever.
We appreciate you all checking out what it is we do here at Black Power Media. Keep on rumbling. Join some type of active organization that's serious about our people and that's committed. We don't need no damn cult of personalities. We don't need no popularity contests. I don't give a fuck what you did yesterday or the week before. We still got a whole bunch of days ahead of us. We got to win. That's the reality of things right now. You know what I'm saying? And we have to reevaluate, and we have to evaluate ourselves, and we got to say, okay, boom, what am I doing to advance our people daily? What have I done today to advance my people? Something. And if you haven't done anything, and you still tired, or you had a headache, use that excuse for yourself, because excuses only benefit the excuse makers. Stay on the right side of the barricades. We appreciate you here at Remix Morning Show on Black Power Media. Keep on supporting the work that we're doing, and we're going to support what you're doing.
It's Giving Tuesday, everybody. I know there are organizations out there that are looking for material support today. If you can support Black Power Media, cool. If you can support Burn Down with Kim Brown, cool. But if you can't, I mean, there's on my channel, we support abortion funds in places where abortion services are outright banned or desperately restricted. Try to find an organization or collection of organizations. If you only got $20 and you want to give 4 different places $5, try to do that today if you can, y'all. Our folks need support out here. So if you got it, even if it's a little bit, thank you so much. Thank you again, Tina Lulu. Thank you very, very much, baby. Is that it?
It looks like it.
Come out. Any
No, I think we're ready to be out. I think we're going to save the mix. We did reach 285 today, I think, at some point, and then after Jackie left the screen, everybody left.
Everybody left.
We see the importance of Jackie. We're so glad to have her come back and making her way back to being with us, and we offer her all the support in the world. I think she's going to come back on tomorrow again. And she's trying to put it back in her regular rotation. But obviously, just remember that Jackie is guarding and watching her health, and we all need to be supportive and concerned about that sister and make sure that she is going to be all right and all good. We'll be back on tomorrow and Thursday with our regular programming, as Kalanji said. Tomorrow, it's later today at 11 o'clock. He also has another program coming on to talk a little bit more about the case. The death row case and some other things. So we really, really do appreciate everybody's support. We say that in the most sincere way. We appreciate on the day that they told y'all to give, that y'all decided to give. And we hope that you continue to help support us, support the network, support all the different work that we do, organizing work here as part of the media organizing work, other things that we do around resources for our community, individual cases that are taken on, campaigns that are done. All of this is done for us to do the work in our community and do the work that we know needs to get done, both here locally, internationally. So keep on supporting. Want to thank y'all for coming out. Black Power Media. We will see y'all tomorrow. Peace. The remix.
Black Power.